Focus up. I'm talking to you, Gunnar Yoakum, out in South Carolina. Just watched your trial for the 5th year of eligibility. I'm so proud for you. So happy for your family. Great job. Welcome to the Rubio Method. My name is Chris Rubio, host of the Rubio Method, obviously. I'm going to be here with a new format. You're going to notice what's going on throughout the entire show. We also have a great guest named Brian Willmer. I've known him for, I want to say, over 20 years at this point. It's got to be. Yeah, definitely over that. This is episode 39 of the Rubio Method. You guys are doing a great job of sharing on YouTube, Spotify, Google, Amazon, and of course, Apple and the NGBN.TV network. So, what is in store for today's show? Here we go. Mini routines to combat stress. How blunt am I? My clothing. Wilmer already commented on it. College memories. Best overall meal. Professional sports dreams. Religion, the balancing act in your life, the Nehemiah Project, and a visit from Doc. All of that and much, much more on today's episode 39 of the Rubio Method. Christian, I'm out. Focus up. I'm talking to you, Stats. Great job on making varsity golf. I'm very proud of you, but you do not need to talk to me about it because you keep going and going and going. Welcome back to episode 39 of the Rubio Method. I am obviously Chris Rubio. We've got a great guest, Brian Willmer, coming up in another segment. But before that, we've got a new and improved Minute with Monaghan. Just wait and see. Go ahead, Christian.
Hey, how's it going? Man, we've got an awesome minute with Monaghan for you today. And you guys are probably noticing something different, and that is I don't have a beard, and I absolutely hate it. I hate every second of not having a beard. I'm in the police academy right now, training to be a police officer in St. Louis Park, Minnesota. So with that, in police academy, thankfully only police academy, not after I get sworn in. I can't have a beard. So yeah, I look like kind of goofy, but we have an awesome minute with Monaghan for you guys today. One that I really enjoy and has really helped me. It's 3 mini routines that'll help you de-stress throughout your day. So let's dive on in. Number 1, it's something that I absolutely love. Those of you who hate waking up early, you might not like this one, but wake up 30 minutes earlier than normal and just stretch. Get a good full body stretch in that allows the blood to flow through your entire body, and that way you can feel just that de-stress come out through your body before you even start the day. Take some deep breaths that allows your mind to be clear, and you could get real nice and focused before your long day. Number 2 is take time to daydream. Take time to just set everything aside and think about your goals, your aspirations, what you want to do in the next couple of weeks, things like that. It's super helpful. It helps you stay clear, stress free, and allows you to really look forward to things that you want to do in your life. And last but not least is make sure I always say this, and if you've heard this 1,000 times, turn off all those screens before you go to bed. Read a book, spend time with your family if you've got some, or just talking to, your spouse or some friends or your brother or sister, whatever it is, mom, dad, if they're in the room. Again, stay away from phones, so maybe don't call them up. But getting rid of the screen time, I've always said, is really helpful and helps you with sleep. So there are 3 mini stress reliever routines that you can do throughout your day to feel great.
All right, number one, let's talk about Monaghan's new look. Is that a lot of face that I'm looking at right now? It's just a little concerning for me because I've always seen him with a beard, and now this just looks like a giant face. He's still a good-looking kid, but more power to you, Monahan. I can't believe you really had to shave. I don't understand the ruling on that for cops. I mean, I can see firemen because they have to put on like the safety mask and breathing, and obviously if you have a mustache or goatee, it's pushing it out. But for a cop, I don't get it. Maybe it's just the clean cut thing. But anyway, great minute with Monaghan. Best of luck with you out there at the police department. I'm going to start calling you Hightower. Anyone that doesn't know what that means, go watch an 80s movie and figure it out. Christian, I'm sure you know. And Wilmer, you're laughing down at the bottom, so I know you know as well. All right, let's get to email questions. If you have any email questions, you can email Rubio at therubiomethod.com. Rubio at therubiomethod.com. Here we go. Rubio, this is from Nathan in Tacoma, Washington. Saw Garth Brooks there. Great concert. Rubio, you appear to be a very blunt person, but how blunt are you? What I mean is, would you in public tell a woman if they have lipstick on their teeth, or a guy if they have something in their teeth? 1,000,000,000% I would. I would easily do that because I would want it done to me. If I'm sitting there talking to you and I got half a broccoli sprout hanging out of my tooth or a booger coming out of my nose, you got to give me the old what's going on here, dude, or you got something in your teeth, because I look like an idiot. So if a woman has lipstick on her teeth, and every time I've done it, because I've done it several times in public, a woman always says, "Oh my God, thank you for telling me. No one would ever tell me." Always, I would always tell you. I'll even tell someone if they have a milk bubble in their throat when they're talking. It's like they drink too many milkshakes. That really bugs me. So I will definitely tell you 1,000,000,000%, and I hope you tell me as well. Second question is from Felicia in Long Beach, California. Bye, Felicia. Do you have any pets? Yes, I do. I have a cat named Rocco that's 16 or 17 years old, going on 175. I think he's on borrowed time. He's a great cat. He used to be super, super fat. He was like the second fattest cat in the valley. I think he was 21 pounds at one point, but now he's only like 10 or 11. So he's basically a good cat, but he's got one foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel, if you know what I'm talking about. And I also have a dog named Norman. He's a golden retriever. He's about 2 years old, I think. The nicest dog you've ever met, and he's also the dumbest dog you've ever met. Means well, but bless his heart, he's really, really trying. And your third and the last question from Gina in Key West, Florida. Key West, a phenomenal place. If you're an adult, go to Key West. I recommend flying to Miami. Take the bridge down. Christian, I don't know if you've ever done that, or Willmer. Take the bridge all the way. I don't know what's called, like long. Christian's done it. Long. Christian, look it up for me. Tell me what it's called. It's like long. I don't even know what the hell it's called. But you're driving on a 2-lane highway in the middle of the ocean, and it's absolutely phenomenal. Spend a couple days in Key West, have a great time, but then fly out of Key West. Don't drive all the way back. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. Gina asks, Rubio, obviously you were hooked on your yellow sweatshirt. Thank you. Wilmer already told me. But are you like that with other clothing when you are not on camera? 1,000,000,000%. My rule on clothing is if it fits, I wear it. So if I find something that fits well and it's comfortable, because I have a really long torso and a big barrel chest, if I find something that fits well, that's it. I'll wear it all week as long as I'm not sweating in it. My wife always makes fun of me because she goes, you can wear something else. No, I'm good. Do I do my own shopping? Zero chance of that unless I'm buying like a funny joke shirt. But any clothing that I'm going out in, my wife always buys, to the point when I go traveling with my wife on a vacation, she will literally pack my entire suitcase, every day's outfit, because I don't care. My whole thing is always, as long as it's comfortable and it fits, I will wear it. So that's all the email questions we have today. So Gina, I hope that answers your question. So remember, if you have any questions for Rubio at one more time, Rubio at therubiomethod.com, you can send them in and we will answer them for my guest coming up, Brian Willmer. But before that, we've got a new segment, an invitation, or what did I call it? A visit from the doc. You're going to really, really like this. All right, Christian, I'm out.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Focus up. I'm talking to you, all of you football coaches' wives out there. Football season has just started. So basically you're on your own for a couple months. Wilmer's nodding his head right now. You guys do a great job of holding down the homestead, as they say, at home. Welcome back to episode 39 of the Rubio Method. My name is obviously Chris Rubio. Thank you for sharing on Spotify, YouTube, Google, Amazon, iTunes, and even Rumble. And of course, the NGBN.TV network. We have a new segment. One of my favorite people in the world who I've never met, seems like it happens a lot these days, is Dr. Connor Hogan. Good God, why did I say that? From Ireland. He was one of our guests in the early episodes. He has the best accent ever, and he's always posting these wild things on LinkedIn. And I said, Doc, I want you to start doing a segment for me, and we're going to talk about it. So, Christian, take it away.
Rubio, believe it or not, the University of Bath in Britain
has done a huge study and discovered that being a member of Facebook is not necessarily bad for well-being. Shock horror. It has looked at 1 million people over 72 countries from 2008 to 2019. That's a magnificent study, and it's discovered that the evidence out there to say that Facebook is not good for well-being is not conclusive, more speculative. So, what do you guys think of that? Believe it or not?
I told you his accent is phenomenal. So basically in that film, he's talking about how the studies show that Facebook is a good thing for people to have. Willmer, just real quick before we even get going, do you give a thumbs up or thumbs down to that? And they did. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about it more as we're going through. Who am I talking to? I'm talking to Brian Willmer. We met back in, let's say, August of 1993. He's a UCLA Bruin, played middle linebacker. He's a former college football head coach. He's the vice president of TALEO Capital. I got it right, Wilms? All right. He's the founder of the Nehemiah Project. He's married for 25 years in January and has 5 children ranging from 20 to 13. Willmer, what is up? Thanks for coming on the show today.
Rubes, thanks for having me. It's so great to be here. Can you believe it's literally 30 years?
Is that how long it's been?
It's 30 years since, right? 1993, August of 93, and 2023. Here we go.
Oh, Jesus.
Hard
Okay,
to
yeah. See, I don't
believe.
do math. I'm not like Goodwill Hunting, but that was really depressing. You just told me that.
Well, I'm here to build you up and encourage you, but hard to believe. Time flies when you're having fun. Congrats on everything. Just the business you've built and obviously you're doing here. Very exciting.
I
Great
appreciate
stuff.
that, Wilms. All right, so I got 3 quick questions for you. These are just warm you up a little bit. Number 1, what was the best memory at UCLA? And you can't say meeting your wife.
The best memory at UCLA. Oh man, I would almost kind of lump it together. We had a lot of fun freshman year, just with all of us and hanging out together. Never losing to SC.
Yes.
Was a lot of fun.
Go Bruins.
I think just from a football standpoint, probably that last game in the Coliseum in '97 when we beat those guys. Our senior year was a blast. Man, there's just a host of different things, but that would have been one of them. Some of the tutoring sessions and other things that we were
let's just say at UCLA, I wasn't exactly the greatest scholar. So I think kind of like I am now. When I went to go to the tutoring session, I was there for more, let's just say, antics, commentary. Would you say that's right, Wilms?
Those would be nice words. I mean, those were fun times. It's a different world now, man.
Oh God! Hey, Christian just wrote "Fight on." Christian, you're fired right after the show, by the way. Number 2, Willmer, if you could create your number 1 meal, like appetizer, main course, and dessert, what would it be? Like you could say something from this restaurant, something from this restaurant, or all home cooking. You tell me.
Yeah, that's a great question. So. Appetizer, I love. I'm a chips and salsa guy.
Oh.
There's, we moved to Kansas City. We kind of, my young son and I, we started messing around with salsa, so we started just kind of making our own. So I'd probably do some of that. He's actually got his own little side business. Rubes, you'll appreciate this. It's called Salsa Bros. And anyhow, you can get there's 2 different ones. You can get he calls it the sizzle or the biz, and so it depends on which one you want. But yes, so I definitely warm up.
Okay, hold on. We got to come back to the salsa. Like how spicy? Like like spicy enough to where you have to eat it sitting on the toilet? Spicy?
No. He wants people to keep coming back, so he kind of gives people 2 options. And the spicy one's spicy, but just enough to where you'll feel it, but not to gonna bring you to the toilet.
Okay. So what's your main course?
So main course, spending some time in Kansas City. I just loved anything smoked. So burnt ends with some smoked turkey. And then, oh man, you don't like the burnt ends?
I don't mind smoked as long as it's not smoky.
They do a good job where it's still got the smoke flavor, but it just melts in your mouth and just phenomenal. So burnt ends and with some smoked turkey. And then for dessert, I'd probably go with a creme brulee with fresh fruit on top.
What fruit? Blueberries? Huckleberries?
I like the strawberries and raspberries Probably a little bit of a blackberry.
I'm
Mine's
in for that
the
whole
blueberry.
entire meal, but the smoke would have to be. I don't want smoky and turkey. I'm not doing turkey. Christian already knows my protest on turkey. I can't stand turkey. Willmer, I've been really looking forward to this interview because you are such a unique person in my mind. One of the things that you and I went through a lot at UCLA, you were one of the most, and I don't know how to. I've been playing around how to word this question. You were one of the most religious people I know without being overly religious to other people. Does that make sense to you?
Well, I think Rube's kind of, a little bit of my story. What happened, while obviously we were at UCLA, I got plugged in with a group called Athletes in Action, and it was a group that was part of a ministry called Campus Crusade for Christ. And what it was just understanding that, God created us to be in relationship with Him, and so it really was more about a daily relationship versus a religion, and learning how to live that out, and learning how to interact and be with other individuals and other people that you can have great dialogue and good discussion and talk through issues and ultimately say, what's that kind of core source of truth that drives what you believe and why do you believe it? And so for me, it was transformational, changed kind of how I viewed life, how I went about things, and to this day, continue to obviously follow after the Lord and appreciative of just any opportunities that I get to share with others of just how I took a guy like me that was totally lost and transformed who I was and my life. And so to answer that question, I think it's just been one of those things where, right, you saw it firsthand. You kind of knew who I was coming in, and then you got to see a little bit of how God worked and who I changed during that time.
But that wasn't meant as a put down. It was meant as a put up or lift up. It was just a matter of like you would, because in college, everyone, you kind of find yourself. You grow your hair out, not me. You kind of play around with facial hair. You do what you do. You join this clique. You join this group. You join this whatever, frat, sorority, whatever. And a lot of people will say, find religion, and they become over the top in it. To me, it almost pushed people away. You were always that beautiful fine line of, we knew, okay, Willmer's religious and he's super religious, and if you wanted to talk to him, you could talk to him, but you did such a great job. And I don't know if you can, how do you did that of not being overbearing with it. And it was almost like you didn't talk about the fancy car, but so people wanted to know about your fancy car, and it worked.
No, I think one of the lessons I learned was it's not about winning the argument, but it's about winning the soul. And ultimately, you want to have that discussion with the person so that you can kind of put kind of the pieces on the table and say, okay, what is the true truth? Obviously, as a Christian that was, saved by grace and believe that God put us on this earth to be in relationship with Him. You want others to not only see that with how you model that, but also be able to communicate that through your words. So tried to balance it. Good to know that you and we had some great conversations.
Oh yeah.
Over the years, and I was appreciative of those, and so just a process, but wanting to live it out and live it out consistently.
You just said the word balance, and I have that written down about 5 different times. You were a head football coach. Now you're the vice president of TALEO Capital. You've got a massive family in today's world. You're married for 25 years. How do you balance your job, religion, and family?
That's a great question. I think you always have to kind of take inventory of kind of where you're at. So being a small college football coach, the word small college and football and the word balance don't really work. It's a very challenging profession to be in, and you really have to be purposeful and strategic with how you spend that time. And so one of the things that I learned quickly was, when I'm engaged, whether it's with my wife or with my kids, I need to be there and be engaged with them. We can be in a conversation, but not be there. And so learning to kind of be exactly where you are and being engaged in that conversation, looking strategically with how can I spend time with them, getting up earlier if you need to, staying up later so that you can spend that time with your kids, because as you know, we don't get that back. And time is really one of the most precious resources that we have. And so to have that time with your kids, with your wife, and to try to be purposeful about it. And again, I am not the model at it. It's areas that I have to continue to grow and get better in. But, for me with the family, it was just trying to, the moment you get, be strategic, be purposeful, bring them into it. So part of what I wanted to do, when I was a head coach, for me, there were a couple things I wanted every player to know. And our mission statement was building men that would lead from the front. And there's a Marines commercial. It's an amazing commercial, really impacting me. It's probably 10 years old, but it says, at the sounds of chaos, most people run from it. The Marines run to it. And I thought a little bit about just kind of men and masculinity and what that would look like, and just what I believe that God has called us to be and what that should look like. And so through that program, everything that I tried to do was about building men that would lead from the front, whether it's at their work, it's their job, it's their family. And so being purposeful with those men in doing that and having a chance to really grow and develop in that. Because as you know, Chris, a lot of these young men, and particularly in football, family is a mess, and there's dysfunction, and no longer, to be honest, and I was amazed at this years ago. It's not just that kids didn't have fathers; some of them didn't have mothers. I had players that were taking care of a drug addicted mother. I had a player that his own mother put thousands of dollars on the kid's name and stealing his identity. I mean, just terrible things that you would think. And so for me, it was all about helping these young men, understanding that God created them for a purpose. And he created them, one, to be in a relationship with him, but two, what does it look like? And how can you structure and give these young men that direction and help to hold them accountable in that process to grow? And so for me, honestly, one of the most encouraging things is to see the various players that I was able to coach and the families they have, and the jobs that they're in, and the fact that they were able to break that cycle of dysfunction. And so I kind of went down a host of different things, but at the end of the day, the balance piece is, you just have to, for me, I just have to check myself and say, look, am I being purposeful with my kids, with my wife, with my job, that I'm doing a good job of making sure that I'm giving the right amount of time to each one? Because as you know, there's only 24 hours in the day.
100%. That was phenomenal, Wilms. You spoke about men being men, leading from the front, running towards it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts that in many parts of today's society, it's almost taboo to be a masculine man?
So and Rubes, this is where I think we don't spend enough time peeling the onion back and looking at the source of things, right? So when I was with a player, and you look at a player and the player would act out, right? Well, the reason the player acted out was there was something that triggered that or resulted from that. And so if we look at kind of where we are, society, and what's going on as a whole, I would argue what's happened is men are no longer behaving as the way that God created them to be. And one of those is that, and you know this, for every man, majority of men wake up every morning and feel they have no purpose. And men need a purpose. They will run through walls. They will do incredible things. But if men don't have purpose, they're like a boat without a rudder, and they're just going to be tossed around on the sea. And so part of it is that we were created, and I think the beauty of us and even our own background of football, right? What we had in football were a couple special things that really, I would argue, point to what we have now. We had the ability to connect with other men in ways that were goofy, ways that were fun, but we also had some honest times.
Oh, yeah.
And part of what we had, which most people don't have these days, is we had a locker room. And what I mean by that is we had a place that, in essence, for men was sacred. You're exactly right. There's a full force frontal attack on men as a whole. And for the past, we'll call it 15 to 20 years, young men have not been doing well in college. They've not been doing well in school generally. And they're just kind of floundering and kind of figuring out, where do I go and what does this look like? And so for me, and kind of how I view all of this, is that, one, we need to understand what we were created for. And God created us, one, to be in relationship with him. And in the very beginning in Genesis, we see that God speaks very clearly about just the role of the man and what he desires for that. And then obviously bringing alongside the woman and the uniqueness and the beauty of that relationship and the responsibility that the man has to go and to work and to use his hands, and the responsibility that God has given him. And so I would kind of peel all the way back to this to say that we have to understand what we were created for. And I think so many men don't know that. And as you know this, right, as a coach, the thing that so many offenses try to do, right, I'm a defensive guy, but you just try to create confusion. So it's smoke and mirrors. If I can get you to look over here, but I'm really going to move the ball over there. And I think a lot of that's happened And so men really just struggle, I would argue, ultimately with what is my purpose? Because a purposeless man really is a man that's going to flounder and not become what God has created him to be.
So you create more purpose for men and let them feel that purpose, stick out their chest and attack the day, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly right, and something that gets them excited. Obviously, not every day and every moment is going to be something that's, overly exciting, or hey, I'm gonna, I got all these behind me. I got these just different trails, that different hikes I've gone on with my kids and different things. But if you think about it, if you think about football and you think about for men, we had a purpose, and the purpose was we have to come together as a team and we have to perform, right? Every position had a responsibility. You obviously, you did a great job. You took a position and excelled at it, Chris, but then you also took it and you made it into a business, and you were one of the early people to do that.
Well, I held the team together. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, without the long snapper, right?
Of course.
Who needed Skip Hicks or Cade McNown or any of those other guys, right? But the whole concept of where you're going, and you've got other men to go with you, and you've got a process, and you have accountability. We need accountability. And so, kind of I'll transition a little bit to the Nehemiah Project and what
next
that
question
is.
I was going to ask you, so please tell us about it.
So the Nehemiah Project, in the Bible, there's a guy by the name of Nehemiah, and he was the second in charge of a king. And basically what had happened was Jerusalem had been ransacked. And so think of it like DC, the capital, the walls are broken and had been taken over. And so long story short, he leaves his cushy job to go and to begin to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, because the walls were everything. If the walls were broken, then basically the city was going to be invaded, and you wouldn't be able to handle any potential attacks. And so what Nehemiah did was he took 30 families and he equipped them to go and rebuild each portion of their wall. And so I was so moved by that about 15 years ago when a mentor of mine, Ed Underwood, was taking me through just some discipleship, that I named one of my kids that. So my youngest kid is named Nehemiah. And I was so encouraged by that I wanted to think of a way of how can we bring men together to worship corporately, but not just that, because you don't want it to just be a moment. I think a lot of life we spend as moments, but really what life is the journey. Life is the process. And so I wanted to be where men could connect for a moment, but it was leading them to become godly men of action towards getting involved within their local church and going through some type of discipleship process. We all need to be mentored. Again, Rubes, you do a great job of what you've built with your company, right? And you've had younger coaches under you that you've had a mentor, and now they go out and they coach other people. It's the same thing with this. I learned it in coaching. How am I going to expect a kid to execute what cover 3 is if I've never taught them? How do we expect men to behave like men, to be men that represent the Lord and represent what we believe are healthy men if they've never been taught? If all they know is dysfunction, of course they're going to follow, and just dysfunction is going to come out of it. And so the point of the Nehemiah Project is 2 things: come together as men to worship the Lord, and 2, to encourage men to get plugged into their local church and allow their church to work and transform in their lives. And so I've done it a couple different times. I'm doing it again here in October here in Huntington Beach. There's a website that's put together. There's no cost. My vision is simply this: is building a new generation of men, and men that will lead not only their homes, they'll not only lead their places of employment, but they'll lead their county, their country, and in turn this world in a way that people have never seen that honors the Lord.
Where can people find out more information about the Nehemiah Project and Brian Willmer?
Yeah, Nehemiah Project.info is the website that we've put together. You talked a little bit about Facebook. My kids make fun of me, Rubens. I sit here like this on my phone and I scroll. I am that dad, right? But I think that would be best. I do have an Instagram, Coach Willmer. Full disclosure, for most of the time that Instagram, my wife managed it, but now I'm doing a little bit more of that. You do, again, a great job with the social media, but feel free to reach out there. I'd be glad to talk more.
Willmer, I had a great time. We just spent about 25 minutes talking, and I felt like I could go for another 6 hours talking to you.
Chris, I appreciate you. I've always loved your heart. I've loved what you've done over the years. And if I can ever be a resource, you want to talk more about things, I'd love to dig deeper in. We've got a huge problem with what's going on.
I will, my man. I will. I'm going to get you back on here. We're going to keep talking.
So perfect.
All right, Willmer, thank you very much. Christian, I'm out. We've got the bottom line segment coming up.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices.
Like your text to emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Greg, come on, man, let's split a ride home.
Focus. Focus up. I'm talking to you, Briggs Haruza. I think you're my youngest fan of the show. So shout out to you. You're doing a great job of watching on YouTube, Spotify, Google, Amazon, iTunes, Rumble, and of course the NGBN.TV network. Welcome back to episode 39. We just wrapped up a phenomenal interview with Brian Willmer. The thing you don't know about Brian, he was a middle linebacker, so that's like the meanest position on the football field, besides, of course, long snapper. And he did a great job. He's an outstanding football player, obviously a better person. Also want to thank the doc for making that video. Such a rustic look. Some sort of cave he's in. He's exactly what I thought Ireland would look like. And also best of luck again to the Minute with Monaghan producer, Nicholas Monaghan, as he goes through a clean-shaven police academy. Good job, Hightower. Now we're on to the bottom line for all those new listeners and watchers. The bottom line is the three things that you should have learned without even realizing you learned them. Here's number one. Focus on little things to combat the big things. This goes exactly back to what Monaghan said. Focus on little things to combat the big things. Stretch, daydream, turn off your stuff. It'll help you out in the long run. Number two, if you want someone to tell you, then you should tell them. You see someone that got crap on their face, a booger hanging out, something in their teeth, lipstick on their teeth, whatever, something in their goatee, been there. Just say, hey, man, they're going to thank you in the long run. I promise you. So number two, if you want someone to tell you, then you should tell them. So they reciprocate it. And last but not least, number three, balancing it all is the key. Balancing it all is the key. This is exactly what Brian Willmer was talking about. He's got 5 kids. He's got a wife. They've been married for 25 years in January. He's the vice president of TALEO Capital. He's been a head football coach at a college. How does he do it? He balances it. And like he said, one of my favorite quotes is, whenever he's there, he's there. Whenever he's focused on one kid, he's focused on that kid. He puts down the devices, does what he wants. This was a great episode. I thought it was going to be a little bit tricky without Monaghan, but I think I did okay. And my hair looks good today as well. Just shaved it for you guys. All right. Thanks for coming out to episode 39 of the Rubio Method. Make sure if you have any questions, you can email Rubio@therubiomethod.com. Christian, I'm out.